All right. Gut Game Podcast. Here we are in Waikiki, which is the beach, in Honolulu, which is the big island, correct?
Yes.
In the state of Hawaii.
Oahu.
Hawaii is what? Hawaii is the
country. No, the state.
Hawaii is the state.
Yes.
And we are in Oahu?
Oahu is the island. Honolulu is a part of the island, and Waikiki is a part of the island.
Well, there you go. I didn't know that. So we are here in Hawaii with Claire Jansen, part of my global tour, finishing off this podcast or this whole global tour series in Hawaii right before Christmas, before I make my way back. And if you've been following along, I've been traveling around the world, interviewing incredible longevity experts and health experts, as well as going to the breakthrough experience. I started off in Albuquerque, New Mexico, then Australia, then South Africa, now here in Hawaii. And how cool is it that I get to interview you? As you know, this podcast, there are some prerequisites for my guests, right? The first one typically is I want to interview my graduates for my gut reset. But I don't want to have every single episode showcasing a graduate because it's kind of like a walking advertorial, and I didn't want that. And then the second component is they have to be willing to do a cold plunge, a sauna, and like the cool coffee tasting at my home, at my studio. But the other prerequisite for that is they've got to be an awesome human being, because they need to teach some sort of value to the listenership and the viewership on the podcast. And you have graduated the Gut Reset.
Yes.
We've also spent some time at Cold Camp. It was last year, right?
A year ago.
And we hung out in the frozen lake.
Yep.
And we hung out in the hot sauna.
Yep.
Your mom was there as well.
Yep.
And I don't know your past. I just know you for the last 11 months or so.
Yep.
And based on my perceptions, I perceive that you are an awesome human being.
Thank you.
Great. You're here. And what an awesome opportunity it is to interview you, get to know you a little bit more, share your story with the audience. And also, this is like, we don't have much time because you are about to go embark on another global tour, you little globetrotter, you.
Yes.
Where are you going?
I'll be in New Zealand in January, and then I'm moving to Australia in February.
Okay. And where have you been over the last little while?
I have been right now in Hawaii,
Yep.
and I was in Florida for a few weeks, and then Turks and Caicos for a few weeks, and I was in Thailand and Vietnam earlier this year.
And I was just in Vietnam,
Yeah.
but I missed Thailand. So you're quite the globetrotter as well. Clearly, you value travel.
Yes, it's one of my highest values.
Got it. So I like to segue into this podcast, this interview, kind of who you were before we started getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. Because if someone is going to be watching this podcast, they might perceive you as, in their own little way, as an overnight success. Be like, holy shit, who's this girl? How is she on this podcast? How is she traveling? Look at what she's done. What the fuck? How did you do it? But there's a lot that preceded this.
For sure.
Okay, so why don't you share kind of like your background, where you're from, what your history is, and let's go from there.
Okay. I went to high school, Ridley College. It's a private boarding school, and I played hockey there competitively. I got a hockey scholarship. And then I went to University of Dalhousie for 4 years. I didn't play sports during that time. I let a little loose.
What do you mean? Hold on, but you said you got a hockey scholarship.
Sorry, I got a hockey scholarship for my boarding school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I did get a...
Now, hold on. For those that don't know, please explain what Ridley is, because that is quite an accredited school. And it is a boarding school.
Yes, it's a boarding school. So I lived there at the school for 2 years. And it's co-ed, but the standards for school are very, very high. You have to go through a whole process to get in. Mm-hmm. And it's a very expensive school, but I got a big hockey scholarship to go there. So... yeah, I took advantage of it and got a good education.
And that's high school?
Yes, high school.
High school students wouldn't even perceive that they could potentially be qualified, or they could qualify for a hockey scholarship, but you got one.
Yeah, hockey scholarship, and family-wise, I was if I got a 90% average in my grade 10 year, then I could go to boarding school.
Got it.
So I needed a hockey scholarship and a 90% average. So I said, well, I'm going to do that. So I did that.
Okay. And what happened after that?
Then I went to Dalhousie University for 4 years to study Bachelor of Science. And my first year of university, I almost failed out of university. And then I kind of realized what I wanted to do a little bit more. I got my crap together and studied really, really hard because school did not come easy for me, especially in university. And I graduated with nearly a perfect GPA after my 4 years.
How did you do that?
A lot of late night studying. I ended up getting diagnosed with ADHD during university. So I kind of had, I took advantage of the extra time, which I wasn't a good reader at that time. And I didn't take things in very well. So yeah, just a lot of hard work figuring it out as I go, how to study.
Totally fast forward, but we're going to deviate. How did you receive being diagnosed with ADHD?
I was glad that I did because I knew that I struggled. I knew that I put more effort into school than my friends did, and I still were struggling with my grades.
Okay.
So at that time, I knew that something was different. So I was glad because then I got extra time and it helped me a little bit.
Did you get medicated?
It was an option, but I chose not to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got diagnosed with ADHD. You made some behavioral or lifestyle changes.
Yes.
To what?
I drank a lot in university. I partied a lot in university. I didn't eat well. I ate in the cafeteria. I was eating gluten, inflammatory foods all the time. So I started going to the gym a little bit more, and I found that helped with my schooling. But then just taking more time studying in the library, and I learned different techniques to study.
Okay, I want you to kind of repeat that or share that with the audience and the listenership. Your eating habits and your lifestyle in university, because is it fair to say that you're sort of the average lifestyle of
Yes.
what girls did?
Yes.
And what did that look like?
It looked like drinking for 3 nights a week. It looked like eating crappy food, whether it was takeout or from the cafeteria, lots of gluten, every single day for 3 meals a day. I'm a stress eater, so anytime I was stressed with school or all the other crap when you're 19, I was overeating.
So you're partying, you're having late nights, you are eating processed foods
Yes.
and not necessarily forward-moving foods.
Yeah, no.
Now you are putting a different load of stress on yourself because you're overstressed, you're underslept, and you're still going to school and you got to get good grades.
Yes.
So you've got the ADHD on top of that.
Yes.
That's a recipe for some challenges.
Yeah.
And how many girls your age do you know lived like that?
All of us.
Say that again.
All of us.
Okay. And okay, so you started to go to the gym. What happened?
I started going to my local CrossFit gym. So even if I was hungover, I'd go to the gym, and then I joined the powerlifting team at my CrossFit gym, and I started to train for a powerlifting competition, and it kind of just gave me a purpose to start training for something.
Right.
And with that also came a little bit better food choices. I've always eaten healthy.
Or so you thought.
So I thought there's a difference between eating healthy and gut friendly. And
Right.
now that I've learned that now. But so I started a little bit taking care of my food a little bit more. I had my own apartment, so I was cooking at home. And then I did my first powerlifting competition.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was really cool. And then that was just, I think that was the end of my 4 years or COVID. I forget exactly the timeline, but I just did the one competition, but it was a cool experience.
Now I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate, or I'll play ignorant with a subjectively biased opinion based on my background.
Yeah.
I perceive and I've observed that powerlifting is easier than hypertrophy style exercise, simply because aesthetically it's a lot harder to maintain that hypertrophy style physique.
Yep.
And it requires a different style of eating, whereas powerlifting, a lot of binge eating or a lot of fast food, because I've earned it, or I can afford that type of eating because I lift ridiculously heavy weights.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes, yeah. When I was at my heaviest, even a year ago when I met you, I was powerlifting style training, and I was at my heaviest.
Right.
I could lift a lot more than I can lift now,
Yep.
but nutrition wasn't really the main focus. And it's repetitive workouts, the same kind of stuff. But
Right.
yeah, you don't have to focus as much on the nutrition.
No, and hey, I've got no judgment whatsoever. It's great that people are in the gym, and it's great people are lifting weights and really pushing themselves, and there's a wonderful camaraderie with other power lifters. But at the same time, there's a level of sort of permission or excuse to not so much make the wisest choices health-wise because they justify it because they're lifting just heavy weights.
Yeah, and I also think that there's not really a lot of education around nutrition when it comes to that.
Right.
Because you don't really need to focus on it.
Yeah.
So they don't really talk about it too much.
Yeah, your focus is just continuously breaking those records of your own personal lifts.
Yeah, and you need food in order to get stronger in that sense. So, yeah.
So total deviation, we'll do a full circle. Based on your experience now, what's harder or what requires more dedication and commitment in terms of exercise? Is it hypertrophy style of exercise combined with sort of that style of strategic eating for body composition and aesthetics?
Yeah.
Or is powerlifting with a little bit more of a generous and sort of wider array of food selections? What's easier?
I think before I get into that, when I was powerlifting too, it was just an outlet for me in university. So it was it was good that I had something to go to train for. And I think that's the main reason that I was doing it more so. I had been a hockey player my whole life.
Okay.
I'd always had something to train for. And when I went to university, I stopped playing hockey and I stopped training. So to get back into training for something was really beneficial for me. But yeah, the hypertrophy training is definitely where it's at when it comes to if you want to focus on
what?
Body composition and overall health.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that. But hey, it gave you a wicked focus, a foundation and something to commit to.
Yes.
Right. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying there's a lot of individuals who are struggling with body composition and they're lifting crazy heavy weights. I'm like, there's some other options.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so university, you were a shit show, drinking, partying. But everyone does, right, for the most part.
I'm glad I had that experience.
Yeah. Okay, so you found powerlifting. You started to eat a little bit healthier. Then what?
Then I graduated from university. I moved back to Ontario because I was in Halifax, and I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do now? COVID had kind of just ended. It wasn't really over yet, actually. It was still pretty in depth. So I moved to my cottage. I said, well, why not? I'll move to my cottage. I got a serving job. Again, I was partying all summer. I was working serving. I was working 12, 14-hour shifts. I'd go to the cottage. I'd party all night, and I'd go do it again. So I did that like 6 days a week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Halfway near the end of the summer, I continued with the serving job that I got. And I ended up becoming the general manager at the restaurant. That came with a lot of stress. And I was eating at the restaurant a lot. I wasn't really focused on my food. And I was working out periodically, not very much. In the summer, not at all.
Okay.
And then I kind of started getting back into lifting a little bit, but not much. So that's kind of.
So how did you decide to pursue deciding to get better or hire a coach, which was me? What happened? What was the sort of the tipping point for you, or what was the catalyst?
At the same time that I started that general manager position, I got into a relationship with my ex-boyfriend. And so it was for about 2 years of working this job, being in this relationship, not taking care of my body or my mental health or anything like that. And then I was having a conversation with my mom one day and just saying, like I I've always eaten healthy, or so I thought, and been active. And I was at the heaviest I had ever been. I was at 225 pounds. And I said, I'm so frustrated. Like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I felt mentally lost. I was so I perceived that I was extremely burnt out.
Right.
And
so this is you conversing with your mom, you saying, I thought that I ate healthy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm just so frustrated. Like, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
I'm at my lowest mentally, all this stuff. And she had been working with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she just found you online. And then she said, well, I think you should have a conversation with my coach, who is you. And, you know, I think it would be really beneficial. She had just started working with you, so it wasn't really like she knew much.
Right.
And I said, okay, I guess. And I looked at it and I was like, that's expensive. But my parents were really, you know, they really care about my health. Like that is, so they were like, we'll help you out. And so we had a conversation, and then we kind of just went from there, and I worked one-on-one with you.
Let's go a little bit before that though. Therapy. You were in therapy?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in therapy, you were partying, you were drinking and all that stuff, you're working at a job, you were general manager of the catering company.
Yep.
You were in a relationship that was somewhat up and down like a roller coaster.
Yes.
Right? Up, down, in, out, craziness and all sorts of issues. How many girls your age are doing that or something similar? Probably
a lot.
Okay. What was that tipping point for you? What made you decide, like, you know what? I'm frustrated. I got to do something. Something needs to change.
Yeah, so I actually haven't even talked about this publicly. Most of my family doesn't even know. But a year ago, about 13 months ago, I found out that I was pregnant with my ex-boyfriend at the time. And I didn't know what to do. I was at my lowest mentally, physically, and our relationship had been through a lot. It was quite rocky, and I was pretty naive to the fact that thinking that if I was to have a baby, that it was going to save our relationship or fix it or anything like that.
Is that what you originally thought?
Yeah. When I came to you the first conversation we had, I told you that I was going to have a baby. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Yeah. And then you were like, okay, well, we need to get you healthy so then we can create.
You got two options.
Yeah.
Either you're going to go this way or you're going to go this way.
Yeah.
Either way, I can support you.
Yeah.
But then we decided to have a little bit more of a deeper conversation and weigh out, do a sort of an analysis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I had a couple conversations with you and my mom, and also just time to reflect with myself what I really wanted. And deep down, I knew that my relationship I wasn't happy, and it wasn't, that this baby wasn't going to save our relationship. If anything, it was going to make things worse.
Right.
And I didn't want to bring a child into this life with that kind of experience with two people that have unhealed perceived traumas and haven't done our own work. So, I decided to have an abortion, which I know it's not talked about a lot, but a lot of women go through it. So I decided to be open about it on the podcast because, again, most of my family doesn't even know this. But I think it's important to be honest and talk about it. And at the end of the day, that was the catalyst for me. After that, I realized I can't keep going in this path of, like, I almost made a decision that, and I don't know, like I made the decision not to go forward with it. So I don't know what my life would be now, but I can say with a lot of faith that I wouldn't be where I am right now if I did decide to go forward with it.
Well, and your ex at the time, was he not pushing you and trying to persuade you in the opposite direction with that decision?
Yeah, and I told him that I wanted to, and I think that I created a fantasy for him in that moment. And when I told him that I needed to talk and wanted to go forward, he didn't want to talk about it. And so I made the decision on my own ultimately, and that wasn't favorable, and I can understand, but at the end of the day, it's my body and it's my life. Yeah.
So for the listenership right now, rewind, go back to the beginning of this at the break. We maybe had a break. there's a lot of golden nuggets here, and there's a lot of truth here. And I'm certain, without a doubt, that there are some women listening that can resonate, whether they've got the exact same experience, that they followed through the same decision that you did. Someone might be listening and they're at a crossroads and they might not know what to do right now.
Right.
They might be in the exact same situation. And if you've got balanced perceptions, and if you have a larger scope of a horizon of awareness, you can even understand that life requires death and birth simultaneously in different forms. Someone might be like, what the fuck is he talking about right now? But at the same time, just keep on listening to Claire, and there'll be some more insights. Okay, so you made that decision, and then what happened?
After that decision, I guess I had met you.
Well, and also just expand just a little bit more on the state of your relationship, because there was a lot of fantasies. And explain what that means.
When you're perceiving somebody to be somebody, that you have this idea of somebody in your head and how they should be, and ultimately if you have a fantasy of somebody, they can't ever live up to that. So, and I'm not saying at all that my relationship was one-sided. It wasn't, because I had a fantasy of how I wanted him to be and how I wanted him to react and show up in our relationship. How is he supposed to show up in that form when I have all of these fantasies, right?
Sure.
We both did.
It's very difficult for someone to live up to a fantasy.
To expectations. And we both did. We both were in our amygdala, living in our amygdala, so our animalistic driven brain, like all the time. Pursuit of pleasure and infatuation and the whole time. So there was no prefrontal cortex, as I've been learning, of the logical brain. There was none of that.
Yeah. No executive center utilization.
Yeah, no, none of that. So looking back on everything and being able to reflect, like, I am so grateful that I went through all of those experiences, that I got to have this experience with this person in this relationship, because at the end of the day, it brought me to where I am today. And I'm so grateful for that. Actually, just this weekend at the breakthrough experience, that's kind of why I'm in Honolulu, in Hawaii for the most part, is because I came for the breakthrough experience with Dr. John Demartini. And we learned how to balance perceptions and a bunch of other stuff. But I got to work through my resentment at that point towards my ex-boyfriend. And now it was an event that happened in that moment, and I have unconditional love for that person and for the events that have happened.
Say that one more time into the pipeline, because how many men and women hate and detest their exes?
Many, lots. And I was there. And we went through a lot after this point too. It's not like that was the end. Like there was a lot of choppiness after that.
Sure.
I had a lot of resentment towards him for things that happened. And I'm able to say now that I look at those times as events that had happened. And I don't look at them as positive. I don't look at them as negative. I just have unconditional love for them. And that's what this weekend taught me, and was able to, not even taught me, I felt it, and I was able to experience it.
Yeah. Now, if there was a drone flying above both of you in some of these events, what would it have captured, and what would have a viewer perceived? They would have been like, oh my God, right? Like some of these things are like, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, this is like violent and crazy, right?
And some crazy stuff that I don't even want to get into at this point, because it doesn't matter anymore.
It's just,
but to be aware, if you're in that type of situation, and you also need to understand that whatever you resent them for, you also have within yourself, and you need to be aware that whatever it is that you don't like in that person, you have within yourself.
It's a real-time reflection of what's going on.
Yeah. And I did not see that at that point.
Well, because you had this unrealistic fantasy about yourself as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the stuff that we did this weekend is mind-blowing, and we can get into that after, but
to summarize about the relationship, it's very important that for those that are listening right now, if you're in a violent
Yes.
or a dead end or an unfulfilled relationship, or if you are projecting, you should do this, I want you to do that, you need to do this. It's very unrealistic and unfair to project those sort of demands or unrealistic expectations onto your spouse and partner.
Yes.
As well as if your partner is saying to you, you need to do this, why don't you do that, you should do this. They are also projecting their values onto you. And that's also kind of futile.
Yeah. We were projecting our values onto each other a lot the whole
Yes.
time. But it's also important to, I think, especially for nowadays, a lot of women and men, but you need to be honest with yourself and realize when you're in something like that, that's not serving you anymore. Or maybe it wasn't from the beginning, but you need to understand that you're using your animalistic brain a lot of the time, and you're emotionally reacting to things.
Sure.
So you need to be honest with yourself and aware so that you can understand, so you can rather move forward or make changes, whatever it is. But a lot of people get stuck in this. And another thing, I wouldn't have left that relationship if we didn't do a lot of the work that we did together.
Of course. We've done a lot of work
Yeah.
through coaching.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that a little bit. The bottom line is most people are bringing suitcases of baggage into the next relationship and into the next relationship and into the next relationship when they haven't done the personal work.
Yes.
And so every time you go into a new relationship, if you have not done personal work, and some people might even say, oh, I've done work.
No.
There's
Not
work
the same.
and then there's deep work.
Yes.
And if you don't do the deep work, you bring that luggage into the next relationship and it compounds. And 9.9 times out of 10, the person that you pick, because you haven't done the personal work, them too have not done the personal work.
Yes.
So then that compounds.
Yes.
And then people just create families and they get into long-term relationships and they're unfulfilled and they're projecting their values, and it just continues to.
And your children pick up on that, and that was a big thing for me. I didn't want to create that environment for a child. Yeah.
You're just going to pass the shit on to them.
Yeah.
And that's what generational trauma looks like.
Yeah.
And then there's an opportunity for generational healing as well.
Yeah.
So you're really creating these opportunities for generational healing.
Yes.
And then so you can break that cycle and create new cycles.
And with back to the abortion thing quickly, I had a lot of shame around this. I grew up very Catholic. My family's very Catholic. They don't even know. They probably will after this, but that's okay. And I had a lot of shame carried with that, because I remember after I went to church with my grandparents in Florida, and I sat there and they were talking about abortion and how you've had an abortion, you're a sinner, you're a bad person. And I just started crying. And that really made me realize I don't think that the Catholic Church is a place for me anymore. I don't think that, you shouldn't be shamed and you shouldn't be made to feel this way, making a decision that's best for you in that moment. So yeah, I just think that it taught me a lot as well. And people are, they have different opinions on it, but at the end of the day, it's your body and you get to choose what you want to do with your life.
Yeah. Well, if you've done the education and you're really methodical with your decision, and you've done a risk-reward analysis, if you will, and if you get offended by risk-reward, then I'm sorry, it's just my terminology. But at the end of the day, if it's an educated, smart decision, great. Yeah. So be it. But if you don't do the education, you don't do the training behind it, then that decision is usually based on amygdala driven. Yes. Right?
And recapping the last year, I can't say because I don't know, but I would not be in this position.
Would it be fair to say that the last 24 years of your life, you have been making your decisions based on
100%.
Weighing out pleasure, avoiding pain, seeking pleasure, using your animalistic reptilian amygdala brain? Yes. And that's most people. Yes. And so when you start to do the work, and guys, you're going to start to hear this: executive center, medial prefrontal cortex, logic, objectivity, being aware of both sides. Then you're making different decisions. Yes. You're not so much reacting, you're being proactive. And so it's so fascinating that when you are living within your amygdala, your physiology is starting to be reactive, and all of the sickness and diseases and chronic illness is all a beautiful expression of your imbalanced perceptions, your amygdala, trying to give you signs and symptoms to say, hey, smarten up, get back to balance.
And I had a lot of those. I was sick a lot.
So what were this is perfect. So what were the symptoms and signs that your body was giving you?
So I was sick a lot. I'd get sick, quite often. I was tired all the time. Like, I didn't even realize how tired I was until now, because I know how good I feel now.
Right.
I was tired all the time. I would wake up in the morning after sleeping 8-9 hours and want to keep sleeping. I would be bloated all the time, but I didn't even know that I was bloated all the time because I was so chronically bloated.
Right.
Fatigue, brain fog, just all of it.
And this was also the heaviest that you were?
Yeah.
Right?
225 pounds.
Okay. So you reach the tipping point, right? As some people I like to say, shit had entered the fan system, and it was a mess.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a conversation with your mom. We spoke. What happened? How did it start?
It started cold camp last year, December 17th last year. So almost a year. Hasn't even been a full year yet. My mom and I bought my mom cold camp for her birthday, and we went to cold camp. So cold camp's a 3-day thing that you run.
Yep.
And I met with you, a bunch of like-minded people, which was really cool. Your mom was there. Basically all weekend we just cold plunge sauna. We did some breath work.
Yep.
And it was awesome. I loved it. And then
we talked about sobriety.
Yep.
Not a single person brought any alcohol.
No.
We had early nights.
Yep.
We had early mornings. And we had engaging conversations.
Yep.
And we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
And is it fair to say that was a new catalyst or of an introduction to a different style of people that you got to converse with?
And some of those people that I met a year ago at Cold Camp are still in my life today, and like really active members of my life, and some cool things that I get to do with them. So that introduced me to a whole new world of people.
Kind of like what's possible, what could be out there.
Yeah.
Because it was all new for you.
Yeah.
Great. So you did and you crushed the cold water exposure.
Yeah, I had done cold plunges in the past. Like I loved all that stuff, you know, and I hadn't really been drinking for like about a year before all of this too. Like, so it wasn't the alcohol. I hadn't really been drinking for a year. Okay. So people who were like, oh, I'm going to quit drinking. Yes, drinking is not good for you, but I hadn't been drinking and I was still at my heaviest point.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So what happened after cold camp?
We started our 6 weeks. Like, I think I signed up to work with you for 6 months, but we started your 6-week gut reset program, and it started with a 3-day juice cleanse, and then we just went off from there.
Now, for those that are listening and curious, maybe I can just do a 3-day juice cleanse on my own.
No.
Why not?
It can be, juice cleanses can, especially when you have a lot of symptoms already, can come with a lot of detox symptoms, because your body's detoxing all of the crap that it's been building up over many, many, many years.
Right.
So it can actually cause a lot of negative symptoms for people.
Yep.
And it can be a struggle. So it's good to have a coach to be able to walk you through that. And then it's also like, okay, cool, you did a 3-day juice cleanse, but you can't just go back to eating the way that you were. You have to have a strategy going forward.
Okay, so you did that. And so what if you were to condense this 6 weeks, what happened? What did you do? What did you learn? What did you implement? So
I had the option. It was just about this time, or I think it was December, a week before Christmas. And
I remember.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And you were like,
and a lot of people are like, wait till after Christmas.
And you were like, and I was like, no, I'm done waiting. I'm done with my bullshit. I'm starting. So I did Christmas. I followed your protocols with food and everything. Yes, it was challenging. Like, there was many times that I was like, oh my God, I want to eat this. But I stuck with it. And also, probably a good note, I had been gluten-free for about 3 years before we started working together too. So no alcohol and no gluten, and I was still at this point. Yeah. So that's another thing.
That's a good talking point, because there are a lot of people out there that are still challenged, and they think that they're doing the right things, and maybe let's say they're 95% alcohol free, and then maybe a little bit, or maybe they're 85%, 95% gluten free, and they're still dealing with some issues. So it's not just that's going to give you this magic result.
No.
Okay. What else?
So then I kept on with the food.
Did I help you with Christmas with some mindset and some options for some foods that you could have?
Yeah, for sure.
So you didn't starve or wither away?
No, it wasn't restrictive. Like, I actually enjoyed it. And, I started to feel really good, and I was like excited about the progress that I was making. I had a trip planned for I was going to Thailand and Vietnam for 9 weeks. I was gone for, so that was coming up. So we'd only been working together for a month, and I had really good results after the month. I don't remember where I was at, but I think I had lost like 20 pounds at that point, maybe 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Thailand and Vietnam, and that was a whole other challenge on its own, because I went to Thailand with my ex-boyfriend at the time. And we left not together after that trip. So juggling my nutrition, my stress, everything else that I was trying to do while continuing my weight loss journey.
Still in this magical fantasy land for a relationship,
Yes.
even despite you deciding to
Yes.
Follow through with that procedure. Mm-hmm. Still in the relationship. Okay.
Yeah. So Thailand, and as people, if you've been in Thailand, you probably know it's a bit difficult to eat. I wasn't eating conventional food. I was trying to take away all the inflammation, and it's hard to do that in Thailand. They use a lot of seed oils and a lot of crap, and so it was difficult, but I stuck with it as much as I could, and I continued on my weight loss journey while I was there. I was training a lot because we went to train MMA stuff. So I was training, like, I dedicated. I was like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm going to train like twice a day. So I trained like twice a day, every day. And
we had calls. So either it was nighttime for you, and it was first thing in the morning for me, or vice versa. Yes. It was nighttime and you were doing early morning call.
And I needed that because I needed the guidance. Like, that was what kept me going on I would work out at the gym, and I was training, and I was cooking in the apartment as much as I could.
You were really starting to separate yourself in that relationship, and things were starting to become a little bit more independent on your end.
Yeah.
Right?
I started to see things differently. I started to try to, before I would do everything for that person and not put myself first at all. So I started to put myself first. Mm-hmm.
And what did that do in the relationship?
Well, it ended it ultimately.
But when you started to do things that were important to you, how did that person perceive it?
That I was leaving and being selfish, and yeah.
And so in many relationships, when the one person starts to pursue things that are inspiring to them and they're starting to find their purpose, the other person, if they're not living in their highest values, they take it on as a threat.
Yeah.
And then they start projecting even more and putting even more pressure on you. So now you're in this, fuck, what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do things to make me happy, and I'm starting to find happiness, but at the same time, I want to make him happy, right? It makes it even harder.
And I had a hard time disappointing somebody, hurting them, even though I wasn't hurting them, but people perceive it that way. So I had a really hard time letting go. But some stuff happened on the trip, and we were only supposed to stay a month. I said, screw this. I'm extending my trip another 5 weeks. I went off on my own, and I traveled around Thailand and Vietnam completely on my own. I just left.
All by yourself.
Yeah.
And so that was a big tipping point, and that's, you and I were still working together, and it was a big decision, but it was a decision that was advantageous for you.
Yes. Yeah. So then I went off, and that was great. Like, I did my own thing. I was still prioritizing the gym, eating healthy, but I was able to just like find myself a little bit more and realize what I really liked and enjoyed, and practice, a little bit more spirituality and stuff like that. So it was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and then get into sort of summarizing that trip, and then sort of where you're at now and what also has been the catalyst, because this is where, all of your new followers and people are like, where'd this girl come from?
Yeah.
Right? You're not an overnight success.
No.
Okay, let's take a quick break.
Brandon! Something happens inside us when we get inspired to change ourselves, change our nutrition, our fitness. But we really do need to visualize to see and feel how we want to be. And for that, we need a plan.
No, you need a plan.
I want you to
We
say,
need a plan.
We need a plan.
You said we,
need a
so
plan.
I don't know.
Brendan Coates is the author of the 30-Day Challenge to a Healthier, Happier, Stronger You. Let Brendan into your lives for just 30 days. It'll be epic, I can promise you. Because for some of you, maybe it is time to bust out of what you are. It's the 30-Day Challenge to a Healthier, Happier, Stronger You. Available direct at brendancoates.ca. And go behind the scenes with Brendan for each and every episode of the Gut Gang Podcast. That's available everywhere you get your podcasts. Brendan! I think this podcast is going to be fun, pretty fun, and different than the other podcasts.
Okay, now that we're back, you were talking about your trip and then coming back. Okay, continue.
So when I came back, my ex-boyfriend was still a little bit in my life. You know, I still hadn't had whether it was courage or healing from everything that had happened. So we tried to make friends work, and that lasted a while.
When did we do the mushroom ceremony?
Oh yeah, so we did a mushroom ceremony. I totally forgot about that. In April.
So after the trip?
Yeah, after the trip, I'd come back. We did a mushroom ceremony. Before the mushroom ceremony, we'd done a collapse.
Yes.
So Dr. John's teachings.
Yep.
And then we did a values training. So I was able to understand my highest values, and we were able to balance a few perceptions.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you know your highest values with that much clarity before?
I had an idea, but I didn't really know them specifically. And again, as you know, highest values, what you want them to be and what you're perceiving them to be are completely different things.
Right.
So, what they actually are. So I think at that, I'm yelling.
Yeah.
At that time, I thought that I knew what I kind of wanted my highest values to be.
Right.
But I wasn't necessarily doing all of the action steps to get to that point. I was starting to.
Yep.
So yeah, we did that, and then we did the mushroom ceremony.
Well, you were doing what most people do. Mm-hmm. They've got an inclination, they think, and they're kind of like a slow, steady sort of lifestyle of just repeat, and right?
Yeah. And I was still in the service industry at that point. I was still serving tables. I didn't love it, and I knew that it's not what I wanted to do forever, but I was still doing that and trying to juggle everything else. So then we did the mushroom ceremony. It opened my eyes up to a lot of things. If you haven't done one, I would suggest everybody do one.
With a facilitator that's knowledgeable. I learned from a highly, highly respected and trained facilitator. He does not use the word shaman, because a shaman is a highly, highly respected title of someone that lives in Costa Rica or Panama or Brazil or South America or any form of sort of jungle that practices Ayurvedic and plant medicine. They teach a lot of people, and then I learned from that individual that learned from someone. So this industry, it's becoming sort of watered down. There's a lot more people that are practicing. So I would just urge you to find someone that you resonate with and someone that has a respect for the medicine and knows how to utilize it effectively. And myself, I use the method. I use the Dr. John Demartini's method in conjunction with it. And in my humble opinion, it's one of the best approaches that really encompasses the method as well as the medicine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It sets up the journey much nicely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a whole experience that I'd never experienced before. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. And at that time, got to do a sauna and a cold plunge. And then, it lasted like 7 hours, I think, or something.
Yep.
I remember being like, wow, that's crazy how long it just was. And Simba was there too, which was really special. And I just remember after that, everything had kind of changed, like my mindset towards a lot of things. But you can do this mushroom journey, but if you don't do the work to incorporate it after, you're not going to get the benefits of it.
Yep.
So I think that's what people also need to understand, is that you have to do the follow-up work, which is the hardest part of any type of work.
Right.
So I did, but I don't think I was in a place, I wasn't ready maybe internally enough to fully accept.
Parts of you.
Parts of me
Components
were.
were.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I wasn't really ready to fully accept everything and let go.
Well, and so for those that you're still listening, I'm going to mention the word paradigm, and I'm going to mention the word epigenetics and epigenetic tags, and how our cells are regenerating at all sorts of different rates. And so here you are, you've done a gut reset. You're starting to eat healthier. You're training differently. You're detoxing. You're starting to lose weight. So you're regenerating some new cells, and those new cells are quite happy with this new environment. But at the same time, you've got old cells that have old history, that have old epigenetic tags that are holding on to your old self, your old paradigm. So that's what's so challenging for individuals that are on this pursuit of betterment as well as weight loss journey and so forth. They might have some great success and they're starting to sort of push the needle, but at the same time, it's fucking hard. Why? Because you've got old cells, you've got old paradigms, you've got old beliefs that are still holding on for dear life, trying to get back to your old ways. Right? And so you experience that.
Like I would say, so then the summer went by and I was still doing everything. I was still eating healthy, but I still had not, I was still in contact with my ex at that time. Up until about August of this year. So really it hasn't been that long, but I was holding on like so much.
What were you holding on to?
A fantasy or a perception that things were going to be different, or that maybe one day, or I didn't want to hurt this person. And there was a lot on the other end of like, we can make this work. Like, you're just not trying, like all this stuff. So it's like, I was being pulled in what I really wanted and knew deep down, but what I maybe perceived differently.
Well, and this is new, confident Claire is starting to move forward. Old, immature, and insecure Claire, there's still components of that. And she's still holding on. Right?
So, truthfully, up until this weekend, there's been no contact for a while, but I still had moments of, I'd think about something that happened or that I perceived that he did to me, and I would get angry and I'd get upset and I'd feel victimized by it. And now like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I can look at things as just an event that happened. It wasn't positive. It wasn't negative. Every single thing that happens in your life happens for a reason and serves a purpose. So now I'm really able to have unconditional love for this person and be really grateful.
Say that again.
Have unconditional love for this person that I perceive to have some negative feelings towards for a really long time.
And so what does that ultimately allow you to do to move forward?
It allows me to, move forward and have balance and peace inside my nervous system. I even would see something on social media or something pop up and it would trigger me without me actually being like angry or something, but it would trigger something inside of me to see that or to hear it or anything. And even in my subconscious, like I would think about it. So now I'm just like, thank you.
So we're going to use the word trigger because it's a operative word right now. And this is applicable for anyone that's listening. If you get triggered, and just as Claire said, you get a jolt or you get butterflies in your body, and all of a sudden your physiology, when I say physiology, your body chemistry changes. What does that do for your body? That's not longevity. That's not health. That's causing sort of disease in your body. And so if you have a trigger and all of a sudden your physiology changes because of your psychology, having imbalanced perceptions, then that causes stress on the body, right? And so you were saying almost every time you saw something on social media or a text message notification or you saw something, you'd get a trigger. And so you'd have a physiological response and that causes stress on the body. But if you balance your perceptions, which you did this weekend, and I guarantee you it's going to last. It can't not last.
No.
Because you've got a complete understanding of this whole situation and all of the events. And so therefore, moving forward, if you see the same thing that once triggered you, now you see it, what's going to happen?
It's just, thank you.
Oh, interesting.
Thank you for being a part of my life. And I'm grateful for that because I wouldn't be where I am today without all of those moments.
How many women would benefit from
many.
And men too.
And men, yeah. I know so many people that have so much resentment or too much infatuation with somebody, which I was in for a really long time.
Sure.
And with too much infatuation, you're gonna, which I was in that position, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not healthy. And going back to the stress response thing, I just got my hormones tested, and my stress is through the roof. So my cortisol is really high, and it's been that way for quite a while. And I think it's because I've been perceived to be stressed for so long, and every single moment in my body is just holding on to all of that stress, and it's not detoxing it properly. After this weekend, HRV, if it's a measurement of health, and after balancing my perceptions, my HRV for the last 6 months has been super low. And I'm like, why is my HRV so low? Like, I'm eating healthy. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. And after this weekend, even with lack of sleep, because, these days were long, my HRV just jumped right up. And I'm like, because I balanced my perceptions.
Yeah. And so this is so powerful with perceptions. And I was talking to you about cortisol. Cortisol is very difficult to bring down because through our perceptions and our crazy, crazy lifestyle, our body has this natural thermostat to allow elevated cortisol to become our new baseline.
Right.
And we just accept it as that. And so until you're able to balance your perceptions and really regulate your emotions with objectivity, you just maintain at that homeostatic level of baseline high cortisol, and you accept it as baseline. Yeah. But the body has this amazing ability to get lower and lower and lower in cortisol if you're able to balance your emotions.
Yes.
Right? So it'll be so interesting to see next time you do your blood work how much lower your cortisol is just from one weekend.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so why don't you share where you're at now, the total sort of weight that you've lost, what you've been working on, the new people that you're affecting with your teachings and things like that, and helping other people, and sort of what the future holds for you.
Yeah. So the total weight that I've lost so far is 65 pounds. I say so far because I still got goals and things that I'm working towards. I have...
Now, how many people have said you're great as you are now?
Yeah.
How many people have you heard that yet?
A couple.
Isn't that...
as I am right now?
Yeah.
Everyone.
And has anyone said you don't need to lose anymore?
Yeah, everyone. I got called skinny at dinner last night compared to everybody else.
Why do you think that is? What are they doing?
They're projecting their...
People will project their values onto you no matter what. Unless you've really, really done the work, and unless you've done the work and you're hanging around with like-minded individuals. Yeah. And so that's an influence.
Yeah.
That could influence you. You might be like, maybe I am just gonna stay where I'm at.
Yeah.
But you've got some long-term goals.
Yeah. I've been told by people that I look sick, like all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm just eating healthy and doing all of these things that are making me feel a lot better. And, I'm the healthiest that I've ever been.
Mind-boggling, isn't it?
And I don't have a bad relationship with food, or I'm not constantly thinking about all of this stuff. I'm good. Where most people, they diet and then they have a bad relationship with food, all this stuff. So I've been able to balance all of that. And now I am building a business, coaching other women to do the same thing and help them, in whatever way that they want to get healthy, whether it's lose weight or, I want to start incorporating Dr. John's teachings, and I'm going to be doing a bunch more training under him, which I'm really excited about. But, balance your perceptions, get out of the things that I went through. And I think that it makes you a stronger person because you've gone through all of these things. But so I have taken on my first round of clients, which is super exciting. And I didn't think that I would be doing that this soon, but I made it happen. And yeah, my clients are already having really good success, and I'll be traveling.
And that what we've been working towards over the last little while is, yes, the creation of your own proprietary program and method to help women, because you're walking the talk.
Yes.
And through your trials and errors, and your tribulations and through the personal work that you've been doing, you're able to help other women with authority, with confidence, without just... So here's the thing. There's a lot of coaches online that have had a little bit of success and now they're a coach.
Yeah.
There's a gazillion of them.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because, you know, as clever as they are with marketing, they can hook, line, and sinker, and they can get some people emotionally on a low, and then they commit, and the deliverable is horseshit, to say the least.
Yeah. And I have the education piece too. Like, I am studying to be a holistic nutritionist, and I'm doing my gut practitioner under you.
Yep.
And now I'm going to be doing a bunch of teachings with the method under Dr. John as well. And so I'm constantly wanting to learn. And one of my highest values is wanting to help people. Like, I genuinely just want to help other people, and I want to learn, and I want to travel, and I want to teach.
Yeah.
So that is kind of what my purpose is in this life. And I wake up every morning now, I'm energized. I don't think about it as work. I'm excited to do it. And I think that that's when you know that you've found the thing that you really want to do, is when you wake up and you're energized and it doesn't drain you. I wake up every morning and I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you don't need coffee or anything like that.
No.
And so many people wake up and they're dragging their butt out of bed.
Yeah.
And they need the coffee. And they're like, oh, fuck, I got to go to work.
Used to be me.
Yeah. It's Dr. John says, what would you well, no, so many people limp their life, not walk their talk.
Yeah.
Or no, not talk their walk, not walk their life.
Right.
Right? They limp their life. And until you found your purpose, your highest purpose, your highest value, you're just going to be going through the motions.
Yeah.
But when you do find your highest value and you do find your purpose, you're internally lit up on fire.
Yeah.
And you're just ready to go.
Yeah.
So it's super, super inspiring. And I'm super glad that we're finally doing this podcast,
Yeah.
because you are en route to be doing another global trip where we might not even see each other for like another year or something.
Yeah.
Or for sure we're going to see you
At
in
the expo.
Toronto. No,
Yeah.
in Toronto at the Breakthrough Experience with Dr. John.
No.
In April?
No,
You're not gonna
I'll be
there?
in Brisbane doing the breakthrough.
Okay, so I'm not going to see you in April. So then August at the Biohacking Expo.
Yeah. And then I have, I've going to be booking a bodybuilding show for November in Ontario. So I'm going to be coming back for that.
So I've alluded to this. Provided that you keep on crushing all of your goals and all these things, let's see if we can't get you speaking at the Biohacking Expo.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be a whole different person and a whole different body and a whole different entity. Yes. Right? Because you're continuing to pursue this development. And then you're going to be competing in November, which is crazy. Yes. Who would have thought?
Yeah, no. And I'm going to be moving halfway across the world. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. New experiences.
What's your... If you want to close with this, what's your mission and what's your vision? So mission is sort of what are you working towards, and then your vision is your long-term vision.
My mission is to help as many women as I can through coaching, learning gut health, but as well incorporating Dr. John's teachings, because that has changed my life.
Hear that, guys? I'm chopped liver now. The gut health, yes, but she's like, I want to teach John's teachings. But listen, I'm humble enough to say amazing. I don't want to take all the credit.
But you introduced me to him.
Sure, and what a gift it is for Dr. John, who's my teacher, to now I can introduce him to a new student. And now he gets to teach directly another new student. What a gift that is.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really is.
And they tie in together, the gut health.
Sure, of course.
But the perceptions and all that, like, it affects your body more than, I don't even know the half of it yet. Yeah. But I'm just so intrigued. So I just want to learn. I want to travel the world while I'm doing it. I want to learn new perspectives of everyone else around the world. Yep. And then my long-term vision is continuing that, but also teaching people. I don't want it to just be a quick fix. I want people to truly understand the teachings and to really incorporate it into your life. If you don't incorporate these things into your daily life and make them long term, then why are you doing it?
That's just it. That's why so many people, and yes, I've created a 30-day challenge, and I've created a 90-day challenge, and even 7-day challenges. Yeah, they're great. But the magic happens with long-term commitments. Yeah. Right?
And it's okay to have help with that. Like, I have invested in the last 12 months. After this month, I will have invested $45,000 It's an outrageous number to think about. But $45,000 into coaching and bettering my personal development.
Yep.
Because it's that important.
Right.
And it has gotten me the success, and it's going to pay
Of
back.
course.
But money it's energy, and where you put your energy, you're going to get a return back in it. So people will go on a shopping spree and spend $500 to $1,000, no problem, but they won't hire a coach. Well, if you want to be with the masses and you want to not live an extraordinary life, then you can continue to do that. But if you really want to change your life, then you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah. You can master your life.
Yeah.
You heard it from her. It really is. It's a testament to your success in these short months.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a long game.
Yeah.
I know that you're pursuing this and you've got this long-term masterful vision. And that's ultimately what my mission and my vision is with so many other of my students around the world, is just to give them permission to look outside the box and see how they can create a long legacy that will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately mastery at its finest.
Yeah.
And we've got what it takes. Wherever you are in life, it doesn't matter where you are.
No.
You can start, make a decision, and start to move forward.
And if you feel stuck, if you feel like there's no way that I could do that, well, then you're holding yourself back, because you can do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yep.
And you can choose to make those decisions for yourself. And if you're not happy with your life, then you can change that.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but you really can. You just got to do a lot of work, and you got to be committed to doing the work.
Yeah. I remember, do you know who Grant Cardone is?
Yes.
So I was at a seminar with Grant Cardone, I don't know how many years ago. And I knew this, but at the same time, when he said it, it was just, I'm so glad you said that. That reinforces what I've been doing. The greatest investment is to invest in yourself.
Yes.
Even more, and he's an investment guy. He invests in real estate and other businesses. He said still the top investment is to invest in yourself. And so if you continue to pursue courses and certifications and diplomas, and you don't even have to go to university or college, you can just pick up a book, find a mentor, start to invest in yourself. Coaching, this is how I make my money. This is what I do. I'm traveling around the world also doing the same thing, teaching and coaching. But at the same time, I continuously, if you know how much I invested in this year in my own personal development. And that's the thing, guys, go in debt. If you don't have any money, go in debt. Put it on your credit card to find a coach. Find someone that you know that you resonate with, because those dividends will pay you back 10x as long as you find the right coach. Don't get caught up with emotional bullshit trying to sell you on, emotional highs, because it'll get you, it'll burn you. So many people have been burned. That's why I'm not good at sales.
Right.
I'm good at teaching people and helping people. Not so great and clever with sales.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, how do you want to leave this off? What is your message to the world?
Just that you can do whatever you want to do, and I know what it feels like to be living purposefully, and I wasn't doing that before, and you don't really realize that you're not doing it until you start to do it. So invest in your health, invest in your personal development, because you are the best investment that you can make. Mm-hmm. I don't spend money on bullshit stuff. Like I don't buy clothes. Like I spend money on teaching and learning, because it's the best investment that you can make. And if you don't take care of your body and your mind, then why are you walking this earth just to die? Like, no.
Okay. So, if you were to speak to yourself 10 years ago or 5 years ago, because someone is listening and she is just like you 5 or 6 or 10 years ago,
even a year ago.
Okay, even a year ago, what do you want to say to her?
Listen to your intuition, because it's telling you something, and believe in yourself. And you don't need to be with somebody to feel whole. I feel extremely whole and complete love for myself in the moment that I'm in, and you will find your path. You just have to believe in yourself and find the confidence to do so, and you can create whatever you want.
I'm not going to drop my mics because these are very expensive mics, but I'm not going to say anything else. Gut Gang podcast. We are wrapping it up here in Honolulu, Waikiki, with Claire Jansen, amazing gut graduate of mine. She's now pursuing the advanced gut training. That's my 12-month program. You're now committing to Dr. John and pursuing his teachings. You're also pursuing your diploma in natural holistic nutrition as well. That's another thing that you're pursuing, as well as you're pursuing your own personal development. What a great episode. I hope you liked this episode. If you liked it, hit a like, hit a share, subscribe to this, share this with someone that might benefit from this. I'm absolutely certain that someone is going to benefit from this. And give Claire a follow. If you resonate with this, if you're struggling with your weight or your perceptions or a relationship, and you're a young gal and you don't know necessarily what to do or what to do next, I'm absolutely certain that Claire can give you the right guidance, because she's been doing it and she's walking the talk. So on that note, Gut Gang Podcast, Gut Whisperer, and Claire from Honolulu out.